Rome, the eternal city. For nearly 500 years, it was not an empire ruled by one man, but a republic, a grand experiment in self-governance that conquered the Mediterranean and left an indelible mark on Western civilization. This is the story of its rise, its spectacular triumphs, and its violent, tragic fall. The story of Rome begins in myth. The twin brothers Romulus and Remus, abandoned and suckled by a she-wolf, are said to have founded the city in 753 BCE. But the Republic was born from revolution. In 509 BCE, the Romans overthrew their last king, Lucius Tarquinius Superbus, and vowed never again to be ruled by a monarch. In place of a king, they created a republic, residential publica, the public thing. Power was divided. 2 consuls were elected annually to lead the armies and the government. The Senate, an advisory council of elder statesmen, guided policy. And the people, organized into assemblies, had the power to vote on laws and elect officials. But this new republic was far from equal. For 2 centuries, a bitter struggle raged between the patricians, the wealthy aristocratic elite, and the plebeians, the common people. This was the struggle of the orders. The plebeians, who made up the bulk of the army, used their power to demand rights, at times seceding from the city entirely to force the patricians' hand. Their greatest victory was the creation of the tribune of the plebs, an office with the power to veto the actions of any magistrate and protect the common people from the abuses of the powerful. With its internal conflicts uneasily settled, the Republic turned its gaze outward. Over the next 3 centuries, its legions, disciplined and relentless, marched to conquer first the Italian peninsula, and then the known world. The defining conflict of this era was the Punic Wars, a series of 3 titanic struggles against its great rival, the maritime empire of Carthage. From the naval battles for Sicily in the First Punic War to Hannibal's audacious invasion of Italy in the Second, these wars tested Rome to its limits. The Republic suffered devastating defeats but refused to yield. In 146 BCE, after the Third Punic War, Carthage was utterly destroyed. Rome was the undisputed master of the Mediterranean. Victory followed victory. Greece, the cradle of philosophy and art, fell to Roman might. Spain, with its rich silver mines, was subdued. And in the mid-1st century BCE, Julius Caesar would conquer all of Gaul, modern-day France, in a brilliant and brutal campaign. But the fruits of conquest were not shared equally. The vast wealth pouring into Rome enriched the elite, who bought up huge tracts of land and worked them with armies of slaves. Small farmers, the traditional backbone of the Roman army, were driven from their land, flocking to the city to join a growing, restless urban poor. The Republic had conquered the world, but it was beginning to rot from within. In 133 BCE, a young nobleman named Tiberius Gracchus was elected tribune. Witnessing the plight of the landless poor, he proposed a radical solution: a law to redistribute public land from the wealthy to the dispossessed. The senatorial elite, whose wealth was threatened, responded with violence. Tiberius and hundreds of his followers were murdered in a brutal mob attack. A decade later, his younger brother, Gaius, would attempt to carry on his reforms, only to meet a similarly violent end. The murder of the Gracchi brothers opened a dark new chapter in Roman history. Political disputes were no longer settled by debate, but by bloodshed. The very fabric of the Republic began to unravel. The Social War, a bloody conflict in which Rome's Italian allies fought for the rights of citizenship, further destabilized the state. It was in this climate of crisis that the first great strongmen emerged. Gaius Marius, a brilliant general who professionalized the army, making soldiers loyal to him rather than the state, and Lucius Cornelius Sulla, an ambitious aristocrat who, after a brutal civil war against Marius, marched his legions on Rome itself, declared himself dictator, and unleashed a reign of terror. Sulla's march on Rome set a dangerous precedent. The Republic was now at the mercy of its most powerful generals. In 60 BCE, 3 of these men, Pompey the Great, a celebrated military hero, Marcus Licinius Crassus, the richest man in Rome, and the ambitious Julius Caesar, formed a secret alliance known as the First Triumvirate, effectively seizing control of the state. The triumvirate was a marriage of convenience, and it did not last. After Crassus's death, the rivalry between Caesar and Pompey erupted into open civil war. In 49 BCE, Caesar led his legions across the Rubicon River, a small stream marking the boundary of his province, an act of treason that plunged the Republic into its final, agonizing conflict. At the Battle of Pharsalus, Caesar's veteran legions crushed the larger army of Pompey. The war would rage for several more years, but Caesar was now the master of Rome. He was made dictator for life. Coins were minted with his image. He seemed poised to become a king in all but name. But a group of senators, styling themselves the Liberators, believed that by killing the tyrant, they could restore the Republic. On the Ides of March 44 BCE, they surrounded Caesar in the Senate and stabbed him to death. The assassins' hopes were in vain. Caesar's murder did not save the Republic. It plunged it into 13 more years of civil war. A second triumvirate, formed by Caesar's heir, the young Octavian, and his top lieutenants, Mark Antony and Lepidus, hunted down the assassins and divided the Roman world between them. Inevitably, the new triumvirs turned on each other. The final showdown came at the naval battle of Actium in 31 BCE, where Octavian's fleet defeated the combined forces of Mark Antony and the Egyptian queen, Cleopatra. With his last rival gone, Octavian stood alone, the undisputed ruler of the Roman world. In 27 BCE, he took the name Augustus, and, while carefully maintaining the outward forms of the Republic, he became Rome's first emperor. The Roman Republic was dead. Why did the Republic fall? There is no single answer. It was a death by 1,000 cuts. The immense social inequality that concentrated wealth in the hands of a few. Military reforms that created professional armies loyal to their generals rather than the state. The boundless personal ambition of strongmen who placed their own power above the good of the Republic. And finally, the weakness of political institutions that were designed for a small city-state, not a sprawling, multicultural empire. Yet, the legacy of the Republic endures. Its ideas about law, justice, and government have shaped the course of Western civilization. Its language, Latin, became the foundation for many modern tongues. Its engineering marvels still stand as a testament to its genius. The story of the Roman Republic is more than just ancient history. It is a timeless warning about the fragility of freedom, the dangers of unchecked ambition, and the constant struggle to balance the pursuit of power with the principles of a just society.